Welcome to Can't Knock the Shuffle. I am Sean Kantrowitz. I'm a music producer. I'm a TV producer, the host of a hip-hop game show called The Questions, and I'm kind of obsessed with how songs get made. As a fan, I've always noticed that artists typically only get asked about the same handful of songs throughout their entire career. It's always made me wonder, what about the stories behind those lesser-known songs, the ones that journalists tend to overlook? And in my experience, those unheard stories are the ones that the artists really want to talk about anyway. So that's why Can't Knock the Shuffle exists. I take an artist's entire catalog, I put it in a playlist, throw it on shuffle, and then we talk about whichever songs are randomly selected. We take the interview angle out of the equation and leave it up to the algorithm to dictate which stories get told. This episode's special guest is the rapper Murs. Murs has been consistently releasing music since the late 90s, and he's been repping his home in Los Angeles the entire time. Murs is incredibly prolific. To my estimate, his catalog is somewhere around 600 songs, and he's released tracks and albums with everybody in the business. Snoop Dogg, LP from Run the Jewels, longtime producer and collaborator Ninth Wonder, Daryl Jennifer from legendary punk rock band Bad Brains, and with groups like Living Legends, Three Melancholy Gypsies, and Felt, his side project with Slug from Atmosphere. He's done it all almost exclusively on an independent level, making his own rules without compromising his credibility. Today, Murs is going to tell me the stories behind a handful of the songs from his catalog that have been selected at random. So Murs, how's it going?
I'm all right. Wait, randomly? You didn't choose the good ones?
Listen, the whole conceit of this show is that it's random. If I had any hand in choosing the songs, it would undermine the entire theme.
Oh, that's painful. Okay.
But look, it won't be a problem for you because you don't have any bad songs in your catalog.
Shh, this is bad. I didn't know it was random. Oh, man.
Song 1. And so I didn't plan it this way, but the first song we have up is from one of your earlier albums. It's called My Story off of Good Music, which you put out in 1999.
Cause negativity is all they ever been shown, from the TV to the people they live with. Family, you know the story goes. Blood is thicker than that H2O, based on the love divine. My father rarely catch a show up at all. I remember playing catch with my mama every fall. All I got to repay my debt.
What is it like for you to hear a song that's from this era?
Feels bad. Feels real bad. Horrible. Awful. I wasn't rapping on beat. I wasn't in the pocket. I couldn't count bars. I was recording myself most of the time.
Now, in your defense, I guess defending you against yourself, a lot of most rappers' earlier material can be very super loose, very lyrical miracle. This seems a bit more thematic and a little more vulnerable. I would say that this might be one of the better constructed songs on the album.
Yeah, I don't know. There's no hook on this song, and there's a horrible punch. Horrible punch. I don't know, man. It definitely is introspective. I was definitely moving away from lyrical miracles when it came to good music. But I feel like once I got to making albums, I never went too hard there. I never had a whole album of lyrical miracles. This was the first album that I had, I think, a girl song on about eating pussy. So I didn't have much to talk about other than myself and whack MCs still. No, you know what? This had a song about my mother on there and a song about eating pussy. So it was balanced. I always try to be like Tupac, you know? Keep your head up, I get around, you know? But this song was kind of me just talking about what it's like to be a young black male in Los Angeles, which was talked about a lot in the 90s, but they kind of missed the part about, like, you know, introspection and authenticity and telling the full story. They just told the part about the bitches and the guns and the drugs. They didn't tell a part about, like, domestic violence and all that other stuff.
This was 1999, so how old were you at the time?
21.
Okay, so who's guiding you at this point? Is anybody overseeing the album? Like, do you have the homies weighing in, or is it just you?
I was cringy hearing my own voice back then. So like a lot of rappers, as soon as you get in their car, they'll play you their whole shit. Like, I would never play my shit for anyone. It was just me and me and me and me. And fans, you know what I mean? I would, like, if it didn't sell, or I would listen to what fans told me what songs they liked, but I'd never play it for friends or family. If they bought it when it was out and they listened to it, great. So I was mixing, mastering, recording, writing, everything, very insulated process.
But how did you know what to do? Like, who was like?
I definitely watched Grouch and Mystic Journeyman, you know, E40 and Dale. Like, Dale was the first person had lyrical miracles. He was definitely known for lyrical miracles, but he always had songs about other topics.
Right.
Same with E40. Like, he's diverse for his genre, you know. So those were the people I was looking in. Pac, you know, always Pac. Just trying to be diverse. You got to talk about the streets, but you got to talk about the streets in an ignorant way, introspective way. Talk about women in a wild way, in a more sane way. You know, there's even like a props to my mom on the album. It's Dear Mama. It's like really just a lot of me wanting to be Tupac and make Strictly N-Words Part 2.
So I imagine this was still the era of you selling albums hand to hand at shows, after shows, outside of other people's shows. Was there any measurable growth in your career that you felt came from the Good Music album? Like, I know you said you were still trying to find your voice, but when all was said and done, do you feel like it accomplished what you set out to do?
Oh, no, definitely. I mean, a lot of these kind of me also being the label and the marketing team, along with the engineer and the writer, it put Murs where he needed to be. Like, as for our label as Veritech Records, it was a double CD. I was the first rapper in our scene to have a double CD because E40 had one, and guess who else had one? Tupac. So E40 and Tupac had one, so I had to have one. But then also this feature of enhanced CDs had just came out, and I was the first indie rapper with the enhanced CD.
That's right.
So then I took the album, and then I did like Never Eat, the song with the about eating pussy. I made that song. Elusive gave it to me because it has so much bass. And at this time, me and my brother were still cruising Crenshaw, and all the homies were. And I didn't really make stuff for my homies, but that one I played. And then I took my video camera that I bought to the hood while we played that song, and then just interviewed some of the homies so people could get the atmosphere around that album in that time. And then I had it made into an enhanced CD because I had this money from Japan. So I used the budget that they gave me to record for the Japanese release to make it a double CD. So did it move me? Yeah, move me forward technologically. Like, I'm always like pushing the envelope, like first rapper on Twitch, first rapper with a podcast, first rapper, you know what I mean? Like, you know, no one else is doing. I'm always trying, like, even within our crew, like a lot of the dudes in our crew didn't have color album covers. And I was like, fuck it, I'll pay the $2 per copy at Kinko's just to have color thing, you know what I mean? So we're just always just trying to push the envelope forward technologically. So I think that put me in a new light. I don't know. Yeah, I think, it got us money, got me my VS840, which I recorded a lot of shit on. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure this album got stolen. I wrote this in a pad, and I had all the beats on a mini disc. I went to Amoeba. I checked my bag. Even though I was a regular there, they made me check my bag. And I was just getting off the Greyhound, so I had like 100 tapes in my backpack that they were going to buy from me. And they needed to count all the tapes, make sure I filled the order correctly. I had my book of CDs, like 100 CD binder with my CD Walkman. Literally 100 CDs and my CD Walkman, my rhyme book, my mini disc player with the beats for the new album on there. I was going to record it with Eclipse 427 at his house. I gave the dude my bag, got my little paper clip, went and started looking at tapes and CDs that I get for the ride home, and came back to get my bag, and the dude's like, I don't know where it went. And he's like, you're one of the ones. Someone jumped over the counter and stole all the backpacks back out here and ran out. And they felt so bad. They gave me a new CD player. They let me go through and take every CD that I lost. But my lyrics and beats are gone. So this album is actually a remake of whatever Good Music. I don't even remember what it's originally going to be.
So you were just doing that from memory?
No, I had to write new songs, get new beats, write new songs.
Damn.
I learned early about attachment from my mom. She was very strict, and like, I got an F on my report card one time, and like, she took away my Christmas presents for a whole semester, and I was grounded for an entire semester. She would like take away my friends, like, you can't hang out with him, and then like drive by their houses to make sure I wasn't hanging out with them. Like, and we moved a lot, so it was like the final step of me like being completely Zen, like, or Buddhist, where like I have no attachment to anything. That lesson has served me well in life, and I probably made a better album because of it. And anybody else lost their shit, but I was so cool. Like, people were like, all right, what can we do? I was like, what can you do? Like, I've been coming here for years, you know what I mean? Like, I know this shit happens. They're like, man, just can we give you anything else? And they wrote me a check for my mini disc player, like right there on the spot. So shout out to Karen and people at Amoeba. They were super chill about it. And like, I was super chill about it. I was like, okay, I just got to write a new album.
Song 2. All right, and we're going to jump forward to 2008. This is a song from the Sweet Lord album, and the song is called Are You Ready?
I was the last one chosen for the first team. Now welcome y'all to the ninth wonder Murs dream. Ghetto music with a purpose. Y'all know we do this at your service. Two of the world's most respected musicians are now at work. I suggest you listen.
That was a great album.
Okay, so this is the third album that you and Ninth Wonder recorded together, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And you guys also released this totally for free, if I'm recalling correctly.
Yes. First of like mixtapes, when people were having mixtapes before we knew what to call it, but people giving away free shit, we were doing it.
What was the Sweet Lord recording process like?
Man, that was amazing. We had both kind of made it at that point. We recorded that album at Ninth's house. Little brother had just broke up, and this is my third time. I would come every November to record an album with Ninth like clockwork. Man, we just lost his brother. Spending Thanksgiving with him and his brother and his family, I would do every year. It was dope, man. His youngest daughter, Jada, was just born, who actually produced a beat on the Iliad, is dead. So we were in charge of watching her kind of while we were recording. Midway through this, we had to take a break. I went up to visit my wife now, saw her, and then I think somewhere in there, flew back to try to get back with my ex-girlfriend here, and then flew back to North Carolina. And Vita Guerra was on my flight. She lived in the Palazzo. I was living in the Palazzo in LA. And she lived, and we worked out together. Like, we wouldn't work out together, but like, I'd be on the treadmill, she's on the treadmill, right? She's seen me. I had huge dreadlocks, like, you know what I mean? And the only seat left to go back to LA that night was first class. So I bought a first class ticket. So I'm sitting next to her in first class. She puts her headphones on and ignores me.
No acknowledgement.
Not even a neighborly, hey, like, I've seen you multiple, like, not just like once or twice at the gym. It's only a gym for people who live in our complex. And like, she knew I wasn't a creep. I never tried to creep her out of the gym. I never said shit to her, because I didn't really give a fuck. I had various women living with me at the time. But I was like, just to be fucking rude? We're on a fucking 5-hour flight together. Like, not a, hey, how much do you pay in rent? Hey, do you take this yoga class? Like fucking. So anyway, but yeah, what else is going through? Then my brother graduated from college finally, and that's part of the outro of this album. I drove to Virginia to see my wife, flew back to LA to see my ex, flew back there, then flew to Florida to see my brother graduate. All things that we can't do now, so I guess why it's so nice to talk about those things. But we finished this album, and it was after this that I got upstream to Warner Brothers, and Tom Wally, the CEO of Warner Brothers, our president, wanted to put this out instead of Murs for President.
You mean like as the album?
Yeah, he was just like, if you want this to be your Warner Brothers release, I love it. What you and I do is magical. And I was like, I didn't fucking get upstream to fucking put out a Murs and Ninth Wonder out. No offense. But they were cool enough to like, I was like, we still need to put this out. They're like, yeah, fucking put it out. And Warner Brothers didn't sweat me at all. And they were like, yeah, give it away for free.
It was kind of like lead up or promo for the Warner Brothers album, right?
Yeah.
Which had Ninth production on it anyway.
Yeah. Tom was like, you got to have Ninth on the album. So we flew Ninth and his wife out, and we rented out the Boom Boom Room. And it's Will Smith's studio in the Valley, where I met Money Making Matt, who was the intern at the time, who's now A&R for Dreamville. So it was good, man. That led to that. That was a good era. Sweet Lord's a good era. Ninth Wonder was definitely fucking with my voice. And you heard, like, I think we make better raw albums. I think this was the start of us going into Forever, which may be a little too polished, but adding the girl going, are you ready? Ready? Like, he's like, I got somebody to do this. Like, we would just usually record, boom, done. Most of the shit on 316 and Murs Revenge, and even Sweet Lord, it's all one take.
Right.
We're very raw. It doesn't let me do multiple takes. And then he was like, yeah, use this and say this. And, it was just, he was experimenting my voice, and like, Nina Ross is on there. He was telling me to rap like Slick Rick and Biz Markie on this. And another song is like rap like Be Real. But we were like literally eating cereal in his house, watching his kids playing, It it was like we felt free, man. This is before like he got the responsibility of Jamla, before I got the responsibility of a family. We were definitely very free. I'm flying coast to coast. It was an interesting time.
Song 3.
Similar era, released a few years later. It's a song called Doing Me off the Melrose album.
But since way back in the days, I've been doing me. Look, I was a square peg in a round hole. Used to try to keep my inner geek on the down low, but I'm a weirdo. It was hopeless, not a zero. I was the dopest. Before swag, I had my own steez, so I started putting tags on these MCs, and now all the girls think I'm cute. Plus, I got a little confidence to gain and shoot.
I want to say that you've told me this before, that the Melrose album, which you did with producer and multi-instrumentalist Terrace Martin, is your favorite album you've ever done.
Maybe, possibly, quite really my favorite collaboration and album that I've done ever in my life, except for Love and Rockets 2, which isn't out yet. Man, I love working with Terrace. Once again, that's me, like, you know, advancing technology. Before Terrace Martin was what the fuck did Kendrick win? A Pulitzer? Herbie Hancock, Robert Glasper collaborating, Kendrick Lamar, TDE, Grammy-nominated genius. We were just hanging out and making music like Melrose. It was fun, man. You know, that was a great era of my life. I was literally just doing me. And me and Terrace were very similar. So it was just super easy going, man. You like this beat? Cool. Go rap. I'm going to go play with my pit bulls or go fuck this girl. Tell him, call me if you need me to take. He would literally go in and like do some wild shit and be like, "Oh, start recording. You got it. I'm gonna go do this," and be doing something. I won't even talk about what he was doing, and then come back and be like, "Oh shit. Okay, you want to do another take? Okay, I'm just gonna start at the beginning so I have more time, and then just let it play to the end. If you don't like the take, we'll do it again." And then I was like, "All right, I finished. Do you want to hear it back? Nah, if you good, I'm good. All right, peace. See you later. All right, man, I'm gonna go back in the room."
Hands off.
Hands off, bro. I was hands off. He was hands off. And I guess that's why the fans have their fans off.
Well, why do you think it is that fans had such a lukewarm response to an album that you loved so much?
I think it's a side of me that I go left-leaning or underground-leaning or Aesop rock, whatever you call that, emo rap leaning or whatever it is, abstract, backpack leaning on purpose because it's financially, you know, more
it's where your bread is buttered.
Yeah, where my bread is buttered. Advantageous. That's where I make my money. I know my fan base, or I don't. I know the fan base that's gravitating towards me, and I cultivated it. I'm guilty of that. I'm playing to the crowd. For this album, I didn't play to the crowd. I was just me. But I can rarely be me with anyone because on, you know, so many sessions for Murs for President, I would sit with these people. I had Tomb sessions, 3-6 Mafia sessions, Premiere sessions, and they would think that I'm weird. You know, they don't get me. Terrace got me, and we get each other. You know what I mean? And the way I'm a little left-leaning, Terrace is a little right-leaning. You know what I mean? So we just can exist in this place where we were both comfortable. And I think that's my most authentic album, like I said, other than this new album with DJ Fresh.
What was the connection with Terrace? Like, obviously, I know you guys are both from LA, but how did you guys link up and develop the working relationship?
I first met him through Ted Chung, who's Snoop's manager, but I was his first client, and he's been a friend of mine. He used to go by Slant from Korea, Slant Eyes, and he rapped in a group called Onomatopoeia. They have a really dope song called Incense on Beneath the Surface, if you ever want to get really deep, and that's now Snoop's manager, but he makes dope beats. So we've been friends for years since we were kids. He wanted to manage me, and when I signed to Warner Brothers, I needed some muscle in the building. And he was still VP of Snoop's label at the time, so he had some muscle. That's why he didn't get shelved or dropped or anything like anyone else.
Right.
Because of Ed and Russell Rideau. I was at his office one day, him and his cousin Singh, and I was at the office, Kashmir, which is a huge agency now. And Terrace was downstairs waiting to meet with Ted because he had just produced the Doghouse compilation. He's like, "You're Murs, right?" I was like, "Yeah." So he's like, "I'm Terrace." He's like, "I know you." And he said the name of my neighborhood, like the gang in my neighborhood. And a lot of people, like I said, because I'm left-leaning, people don't associate me with that. I was like, he's like, "I used to date so-and-so who lived 2 houses down from you. I'm her baby's dad." And I was like, "Oh, shit." He's like, "Yeah, I met you a couple times. I know you don't remember. But yeah, I know who you really are," like type of shit. And I was like, "Oh, bro." And I was like, "Don't blow up my spot. Like, I got a good job as a backpacker, bro. Don't bring a Crip shit into this." So, he continued his rise. When I got a budget from Murs for President, like, I didn't know what a budget was. He's like, I got you, just budget. And he was like, we're paying $6,000 for guitar. That's just the way it goes, man. He's like, you got to order something. Like, I didn't know about the food budget and all that. You got to do this. So he introduced me to the industry, and, we made some money together. He was my guy to the industry, but he knew about the good life, and he knew about Freestyle Fellowship. And, he was introducing me and Corrupt and me and DJ Quick, like, and explain to me how those people like know who I am or know what this scene is, but they don't feel comfortable going over there, and vice versa. So it was just like, I met Corrupt, like, what do you want? What you want to do? Let's do it. Blah, blah. I'm like, wow. And DJ Quick was so nice. And like, I was like, man, I thought these people were against us this whole time. Like, this scene against the scene, and we just never bridged the gap. But that's how I met Terrace, like, just from Ted, and we stayed in touch. And then when I got a budget, he showed me how to freak my budget.
This was post major label, or was it still while you were kind of in that world? Because this is after the Warner Brothers record, Murs for President, right?
Yeah, we recorded Melrose during Murs for President, while we recorded Murs for President. This was like 2007. So like him and like 1500 or Nothing, he hooked me up with them. And we just had sessions before everybody kind of went to the stratosphere.
It's so funny hearing you talk about guys like Corrupt and Quick and how they were aware of what you were doing and even fucked with it, but they were so hesitant to sort of mix with your scene. It reminds me like when you hear about bears in the forest and how they're more afraid of you than you are of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like my manager called me and was like, yo, you should go meet with Quick. And I was like, I'm such a nerd and like, I don't know, scared. Like I push people away. But I was like in my house and I had some cowboy boots that I wore. I had some basketball shorts and cowboy boots, and like walked into Snoop's studio with a gang of Crips, and motherfuckers was like, but I'm hopping out of a Mercedes SL 500. So it's just like, motherfuckers like, and my hair sticking straight up. Motherfuckers had never seen anyone like me. And then they would try me on some like Crip shit, and I'd be like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And they'd be like, oh, whoa, like, what is happening with this guy, you know? Like the first time I met Corrupt, I was so starstruck. We were in a video shoot. Terrace invited me to one of his video shoots. And there's bitches and bikinis and whatever. And then Corrupt's like, what's up, Murs? And immediately goes into a 96 bar verse in my ear. And I'm like, you're a rapper. Like, only person to ever do that to me is Planet Asia. You know what I mean? Like, rapping ass rapper. Yeah, that's it. And then that's what led to Pay Dues. And like me bringing DJ Quick out of Rock the Bells and showing my business partner, like, he is our Nas. He is our, Corrupt is our, one of our Fabulous or Big L or whoever people put on that level for the East Coast. Like, he's one of those dudes. So I did the show with like Ice Cube and Dog Pound and Jay Electronica and Raekwon and Psycho Realm. And like, I was all about, once I crossed that line in person, I felt a lot more comfortable crossing that line as a booking agent and putting together these things and bringing together the scene, and also looking out. Cause then back then, like Problem, Scheme, Nipsey, like Dom, like they were all coming up. Casey Veggies, like Terrace would like put me in the mix with all these people. And I'm like, yeah, okay, like, definitely got to have Black Hippie on here, my bookie, my partner be like, who the fuck is that? I'm like, don't worry, like, this is an LA party. Like, I'm bringing I'm bringing Noah James, I'm bringing Curtis King, I'm bringing Black Hippie, I'm bringing Scheme, I'm bringing, it became natural once I got to kick it and they got to kick it with me. Cause I'm as weird as you get from the other side. And they were like, oh, like, and that's where Melrose came from. Because when I first met Terrace, he was like, man, you got the kind of fans, you got the Asian bitches that be wearing shell toes on Melrose. Those are the girls you into, man. Like you drink sun-dried water and you go to Trader Joe's and Whole Foods, bro. I had never been to Trader Joe's even at that point.
Song 4. All right, we're going into the underground shit that we spoke of. It is a song called Signs, and it is on the 3 Melancholy Gypsies album, Grand Caravan to the Rim of the World.
Earth, water, fire. My desire, fire, water, earth, air. My despair. Can't live with you or without you, girl. You know this shit's not fair. You say to give me space, then you say I don't care. Give me when I'm in your face, get it when I'm not there. Can't ever seem to win for losing, girl. You know this shit's not fair. Me, I got 4 girls, I just can't decide which lucky young lady's gonna be my bride. My Aries girl always down to ride, but my Pisces girl wanna stay inside. She depressed like me, hella stressed like me. We get along fine, she just like me. Now for my Sagittarius, hella taller than me, but we don't care. We just try to have a good time whenever we go out.
That seems like it is on the opposite side of town from Melrose.
Yeah, man. I guess like for me, like when it's left leaning, I play the right side, you know what I mean? And when I go on the right side, I play the left side. So I feel like I've always kind of been the same no matter where I am. But yeah, that group is definitely that. That album was done after I signed my deal Record Collection, which was a subsidiary of Warner Brothers. And I've always been uncomfortable with the spotlight. So I was like, let me get my boys and finally like do a 3MG album we've been trying to do since high school. That name, Rim of the World, is actual high school in Big Bear, California. And my mom took us to Big Bear when we were all in high school, and we saw that. And I was like, we're like, that's what we should name the album. Grand Caravan to the Rim of the World, because life is a journey. And then when you leave this plane of existence, you look back up from the rim of the world, and it all makes sense from that perspective. We were 15, very deep kids.
It sounds like there was also a lot of weed involved.
Yeah, lots of weed. So we kept that name and we did this album. Doing this album, I had to like executive produce and kind of produce it. I give myself credit as producer on a lot of the songs because I finally know what a producer is, fucking with Terrace and like Quick and people like, you don't have to make the beat. George Clinton's producer, but he doesn't make music.
Right.
So I had some shows coming up in LA. I was like, how about we do these shows? We take all the money, we fly our equipment and ourselves out to London because I was really into grime in like 05, 06. It might have been 04. I said, yo, let's go record this album. I really want to try to go out to Fabric and like these UK clubs and like get some grime influence on this album because I believe like this is the future of rap. You know, in this 04, I was probably a decade and a half off. But Dirty Goods and like Wiley and Esky Beat and like all that shit was like so fascinating to me. So we got this house and it turned out to be a place called Billericay, which is 2 hours outside of London. To use the internet, we had to go to the local library. I don't believe anyone in town had ever seen a Black person in real life. It was a farm town. It was crazy. We got a house. I made sure we got a house with the pool. It rained most of the time. Scarab trapped himself in the room reading Don Quixote. He wouldn't really hang out with us. Eli, as I learned later, was having withdrawals because he had a serious drug issue at the time, and I flew him away from his Connect and his plug, but he wouldn't tell me. He's been 13 years clean now, but at this time, so he's in his room, dope sick. Scarab is that. So I'm like, that's how I became the producer. I'm like, yo, this song is going to be about this. Here's my verse. This is the beat we're going to use for this song. Everybody coming in, and we're recording in the kitchen, eating beans and toast and like oven sandwiches every day. Danger Mouse calls me and is like, yo, I'm in London. You out here? I'm like, yeah. And I don't know how we were communicating back then. I think maybe he left me a MySpace message. This is like when he started working, maybe the first Gorillas or something. He's like, I'm out here, come to the club. And I'm like, yo, Danger Mouse wants to go. And they're like, we don't want to go to London. So I'm like, going to London by myself. Then I meet some girls. And then when I meet the girls, they're like, yeah, you met girls, we'll come to London next. So then we started doing, and then we wrote a song about girls and astrological signs, because girls love astrological signs.
A lot of them do.
We came to the States. We filmed a video. My friend Eric Payton, who I just recently, he just shot the movie Walk Like a Man, the short film for me. And I convinced him to quit his job at AT&T. It's like, do you want to be a director? Yeah. And because of me, he is now the executive producer of, or the CEO or whatever of Steph Curry's film company. And they have the mini golf show that's now syndicated on CBS or whatever, and all these other endeavors. But had I not given him his big break with Walk Like a Man and the Signs video and convinced him to quit his job at AT&T, he wouldn't be where he is. So that's my name drop for that story.
So how long were you guys out in the house recording this?
Maybe 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks. I got to go to Wimbledon, watch the whole Euro Cup. And I would say Ty, my homie that just passed away from COVID, rest in peace, he took us around Brixton. It was a blessing because we were just trapped in Billericay with a bunch of white people. But yeah, about 2.5 weeks. Long enough to know that summer doesn't exist in London or in the UK.
All right, next up. This one I'm sure you've told some stories about before. It's called Freak These Tales from 316, the 9th edition.
So, once upon a time in the land around the way, there lived a couple girls that would never give me play. Used to wear tight shirts and short skirts every day. Every time I try to hit it, they say no way. Until one fine day in this land of LA, one finally slipped up and she let me have my way. She kinda turned me out, changed my life, I must say, cause I haven't stopped chasing these bars to this day. Now,
so this one is definitely the Too Short homage, right?
Of course. Yeah. To a song I never owned.
What do you mean you never owned it?
I was never allowed to buy the Too Short album. This is just a song I heard at my friend's house. I was scared to have any Too Short tapes in my house.
I mean, look, nobody is ever going to argue that Too Short's music isn't risque. How did you first start working with Ninth Wonder and connect with him? I know we talked a little bit about your guys' workflow.
I met Ninth through my friend Ian Davis. who on the on the End of the Beginning tour, the My Way and the Highway tour, played me some beats, and I was like, call him immediately. And I called on phone at 9th. I'm like, look, you don't know me. He's like, I heard of you. I was like, I heard a little brother. My friend Terry, my best friend, told me I should do an album with him because he heard Speed. And I still technically hadn't heard Speed. I just took his word for it. Then I heard those beats. And I was like, this is why Terry said it. And I was like, yo, let's connect. And he's like, cool, I'll send you some beats. And I wrote to one. And I remember being at my ex-girlfriend's house and playing it. Because back then you couldn't send it. I had to play it over a speaker and put the phone to the speaker. And I let the whole thing play. And I'm like, yeah. Wow, recorded by Todd Mumford, who is now, I think, VP or president of legal at Rock Nation, who they both sent me a selfie from when they signed Rhapsody's deal. Todd was in the room. But the first Ninth Wonder song I ever recorded was in Todd Mumford's studio, and he engineered it.
Wow. I
played the whole song, and I get on phone, I'm like, what'd you think? He's like, man, I gave that beat to Master Ace. And I literally just snapped, and people who know me, like, I just, like, say anything. I was like, look, motherfucker, I'm coming to your house. I'm off tour, November, whatever. I'm coming to your house, and I'm recording the whole album at your house because you're never going to do that to me again.
The start of a beautiful relationship with a threat.
Yeah. The threat, yeah. And then the funny thing, the first thing I do was I landed, and he played the threat for me because he had just done it for Jay-Z, and the album wasn't out yet. I see what you're doing there.
Yes, laying references and gems for you and the rest of our listeners to catch. This album directly followed the Def Jux album. I mean, I guess this is low-key technically a Def Jux album, right?
Yeah, it is, definitely. I purposely gave this album to Def Jux because I was sick of people trying to pigeonhole the label. And I was like, if I put this on this label, I got a call from Warner Brothers before this album dropped. Got asked what I was up to. And I said, I'm good. And I wanted to give this album to L and them because like I knew L's heart and I knew L wasn't completely the RJD2 Party Fun Action Committee, A$AP Rock label that they claimed it was. It was that, you know what I mean? But Ace hung out with me and Camus and Metro and Rays, and we were like super like wild ass hood kids, like, you know what I mean? Like, so I was like, yo, I'm gonna give them an album that kind of like pushes the bubble for Def Jux, you know what I mean?
Song 6.
Next up, Hot Bars off the first Felt album.
I spit hot bars, I spit on cop cars, I spit game to the chicks that belong to rock stars. Got the goods uptown to Hollywood, so what you don't like us, your girl probably would. Having a good day on the freeways of Lose in Mercer's El Doré, listening to Ghostface. Well, hold up and let me smile for a minute while I look across the sky for a limit. Come and get it, I'ma ride this roller coaster till the wheels fall off, and I'ma ride your Cali roll until my eel goes soft. Take a journey through the mind of a one-of-a-kind self-made motherfucker that's enjoying his time on land, on air, on mics and on sea. Let it all just be good times on me. It's California, fool. Flyest breezes in the world, and we could roll up a bleezy that'll make your toes curl.
So this was 2002, first Felt album, produced entirely by The Grouch, dedicated to Christina Ricci, and this was one of the first songs I'd heard of yours. I think it might have been through Napster or something, and I didn't know who you or Slug was. I didn't know what An Atmosphere was, but I somehow got my hands on it, and I was like, what is this? Like, I don't know these people, but this is as dope as music I've heard from names that I do recognize, if that makes sense.
I'll live with that.
I know you probably met Slug just from touring and doing shows, right?
Yeah, I met him on tour Hieroglyphics in '98.
You were on tour with Hieroglyphics.
Yeah, Living Legends was open for Hieroglyphics for the was that the Inner Circle tour, was the Inner, whatever the fuck that album was. Their first independent album.
Third Eye Vision.
Third Eye Vision. You Never Know. That's the fucking tour.
Yeah, how was that tour?
Amazing. Life-changing.
Sounds like it would be. So you met Slug, I'm assuming, in Minneapolis?
Yes, at First Avenue. He gave me a copy of Overcast, and I gave him For Real.
And he eventually makes his way over to LA to do this album. You know, I imagine that you've told these stories a lot, probably recently, as you guys just recently released the latest project, Felt For You. But what was it like having him in LA? I would assume this is the first time you're working with somebody so closely who, for all intents and purposes, isn't somebody you grew up with. You don't know him super well. You know, I've had people who visit from out of town who I don't know super well, and I'll be like, yeah, sure, you can crash on my couch. And, you know, it's not always great. So I don't know if he was crashing on your couch, but I guess I'll let you fill in the blanks about how that all went down.
We had an extra room I was living with my first live-in girlfriend in Orange County. I thought I had made it. I moved all the way to Buena Park, living it up. I had no idea what inner county was. I was still in the hood. But to me, it was paradise. I had a pool. I had a girlfriend I thought was really hot. And I had extra room for all my toys and my couch that I grew up on. I took the couch from my mother's house because she was going to throw it out. And I had all my memories on that couch. So I took that couch and it was just a room. So Sean had his own room. I could drink beer and smoke cigarettes in my house, in my underwear.
You were an adult.
Oh, bro, I was adulting so hard. And then my other adult friend came and he smoked cigarettes and drank beer, but he was more adult than me because he drank coffee. And he taught me how to count bars and hot bars. He revealed in the interview with Justin Hunt recently is how he was teaching me how to count bars. And we would drive my Cadillac Eldorado from Orange County to Van Nuys every day to Grouch's house to record. And we roll down the window, smoke cigarettes and listen to Wu-Tang and E40 and our beats and just have a fucking blast, man. It was a great time. I was in love with, I guess I try to be in love with my life wherever I am. So I was in love with my life at that point. Yeah, we would go out by the pool and I think he would smoke weed by the pool because we didn't smoke weed, me or my ex.
What was the biggest thing that you learned from him in doing this project? And if you could speak for him, what do you think is the biggest thing that he learned from you?
I don't think I taught him shit. But from him, I learned how to count bars. Like that would be the biggest thing. That's like immeasurable. You know what I mean? And, he was kind of getting me out of my shell. I'm still not out of my shell. Like that was the first time I ever sung on an album on that one. Just fucking sing like nobody's watching. You know what I mean?
Yes.
But be precise with your shit and know how to count the bar. Like Slug is very technical, but very free. But I don't know what he learned. I mean, I'm sure he never ridden with a fucking, a young black kid in a Cadillac through the city of LA. But we didn't do too much hood shit, man. Like, my neighborhood was really hot at that time. I don't think I took him to the hood. I was kind of laying low, man. Shit was very real around that time. 01, woo, boy. So I was definitely, that's why I guess also too, like when I said like I played to the left more than for the money, for my safety. Like, I'm like, this is my new friend. He's really popular in a scene that I need to be popular in. Like the other kind, I was like, people around him are like, I have an eye for talent. If that's not like, I can kind of see where shit's going. And not to pat myself on them, like whether it's Terrace or this person I book for paid dues or people I work with, dudes in my crew were like, Atmosphere, yeah, they can co-headline with us. I was like, no, we need to get on this motherfucker's train in another way and learn because they had merch. We didn't know, we had shirts, we didn't know to call it merch. They're doing something that we're not doing and we could learn something. And this guy's a hell of a rapper and they weren't paying attention. And so I was like, yeah, come to my house. This is my buddy. Like, we're fucking friends, From there, like, he took me on Warped Tour. We did the God Loves Ugly tour after we did Felt. And I tell him all the time, that consecutive touring saved my life. Like, people died that I grew up with during that time. And had I not been on tour, God knows, Because by then I had broke up with that girl and I had to move back to the neighborhood. I wouldn't have made the best choices. I would have been forced to make some choices that put me in a different position. So that was Felt was definitely the beginning of me playing hard left. I recorded Murs Rules the World with a gun on me every day, almost in the session, like, because the studio was in my neighborhood and we had problems with another neighborhood. It was crazy, man. So that was also like me freeing myself in another way. I had never had sex with a white woman at that point.
Oh, dude, you haven't lived.
I had not yet lived, sir. I had not yet lived.
Yeah, you got to see what's out there, I guess.
You look for your keys in the same place, you're never going to find your keys. Looking for true love based on the color of someone's skin is kind of ridiculous to me.
It's one component, but it shouldn't be the defining component, in my opinion. I can't speak for anybody else.
Yes. I hadn't understood that yet. Well, imagine going a whole Atmosphere tour and not having sex with a white girl.
Song 7.
This is the project that I'm probably the least familiar with, The song is called Wifey, and it is on the White Mandingos album, The Ghetto is Trying to Kill Me.
I didn't love her, I would be a liar. I always fight with her, off that white liquor. I caught her down at Max Fish with some white niggas, bathing 8 dunks. You know them skate punks. Fuck around with wifey, bitch, and get your face stunk. I love Shorty, she's my baby mama. Wifey, but I do know she a whole lot of drama.
So this is you, Daryl Jennifer from Bad Brains, and Sasha Jenkins, the writer and now director, who formed this punk band, the White Mandingos. Did you grow up listening to a lot of punk?
I didn't become a fan of punk music until Slug set me free. Like, I would have weird dreads, and people were like, you like Bad Brains? And I was like, no. And when I finally went to Amoeba to buy Eye Against Eye, I was like, what the fuck is this shit? Motherfuckers yelling. I don't know what the fuck they're saying. Fucking weird shit. So no, I didn't grow up on punk rock.
I was reading some remarks that you made around the album's release date, and you were saying that you felt it was really needed because there were so many restrictions and limitations on the blending of music genres and audiences' perception of who was even allowed to blend those genres. And it kind of seems like, once again, you were a bit ahead of your time on that.
It was fun, man. It was really their shit, man. Wifey was a song that was already, like, with the hook and everything. Sasha just asked me to fill in the blanks. It's one of the first songs I did for the White Mandingos project. But just like I ended up moving in, and we did it upstate, finished it upstate with, or New York with Sasha and upstate with Daryl. But yeah, to me, I think that's the most, I guess it's the more left-leaning version of Melrose. We all understand each other. We have like, you know what I mean? Daryl's from the hood in DC, Sasha's from the hood in Queens, and I'm from the hood in LA. So it's kind of just like but we had all learned to lean left. But our roots are well within inner city Black culture. And we're all about 10 years apart. So I saw myself in a lot of them, and just learned a lot about just, you know, being a man, and great conversations were had. And man, I could tell White Mandingo stories for days. I wish, but once again, like, how I also know that it's more authentic and more me is because the fans are hands off on it. And I listened to this, one of my favorite collaborations, probably after Melrose. It's up in my, you know, Melrose, Murs Day. Murs Day is really not speaking for me. So White Mandingos has a slight edge, but I listened to the record the other day. A fan had to send me the vinyl because I didn't get it. So a fan gifted me their vinyl, and I listened to it. It's so right now, like, it's so right now what's happening. Not even just the punk and hip hop collaboration, but the lyric and the content is so now. Yeah, I wish it would have done better, but I'll take responsibility for painting myself as this person where people aren't willing to accept this other. I guess, I don't know, lane. But I really love that project. And he says, did I do right with my pet iguana? He was referring to his penis. I had no idea.
Yeah, I've heard draining the lizard before as a euphemism for peeing.
Yeah. And we shouted out Max Fish, which is a underground hip hop staple and rock staple in New York City. Shout out to my man Shan, the king of Max Fish. Yeah, man, I really I love that song specifically on there. And I love performing it. We did Afro-Punk a couple times as White Mandingos, or once. And then once Daryl let me fill in and be the front Bad Brains, you know what I mean, which was dope. Stand in HR's shadow, I was allowed to. But I love performing with them. I really wish the band would have got more recognition because I would have loved to tour and do more shows. Musically, no one's fucking with that. Our videos are dope. Our songs are dope. Best time I ever had pulling a concept album together, and I've tried before. Story. Yeah, the music is amazing. I think I'm rapping my ass off, and that song in particular is one of my favorites. Sasha Jenkins is a genius. Now he's directing, you know, he did the Wu-Tang documentary, Fresh to Death, I think is the other one, and he's in TV, you know, making films. He has a band called 1865. It's really dope. And Daryl's just Daryl, man. I think about him often. A father figure almost, but a big brother, because he's just so, he will be watching World Star every day we record and putting me up on new shit. He knows his hip hop.
I have one final question. You have such a large catalog of songs, and you mentioned something earlier about developing this very zen approach to life, about letting things go. You know, there's a lot of artists who are very meticulous, and they take years working on an album, and they're precious over it. They toil over it. Sometimes it's to great effect, and sometimes it doesn't make any kind of a difference at all. You've probably put out 3 or 4 records just in the last year, so you're super prolific. And so I wonder, Do you sort of have a fondness for your own catalog, or is it something where you do it and it's done and you never even think about them again unless somebody else brings them up?
Yeah, I do it and it's done. I live with my records before I release them. I always like to listen to them up until they're done, and then they're gone. They don't belong to me anymore. And I've had like critics accuse me of like, oh, this album sounds thrown together or rushed. And one that's been praised as a classic by the critics is 316, but that was done in 5 days. And then after that, I did Murs for President, which I took 18 months to record. And I toiled over. I did about, I think, 60 to 80 songs. And I chose 14, and it didn't get praised as a classic, you know? So I know my process at this point, and yeah, it's just to get it done, get in the moment, usually get face-to-face with the producer or the people I'm working with, make it a moment and document that moment. And I'm skilled enough where I know that I'm giving my best work in that moment because I know how to give my best work in the moment. And then we walk away from it.
And that's how we walked away from the conversation. Massive shout outs to Murs for giving his time and energy to walk through his massive catalog, and for just being a great guy and a friend. You can check out his work and see what he's up to by visiting mersraps.com. Who do you want to see come on the show next? Shoot me an email at can'tknocktheshuffle@gmail.com with suggestions of artists with catalogs worth taking a dive into. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a comment on our show. We really appreciate it, and we'll be seeing you real soon. I'm Sean Kantrowitz. Peace.